I almost might pick him tonight on my parlay. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just to give him that bad juju.
But hey, when you look at it though,
All in, no rim. We back with another video. Still to producer, Doughboy Bush, man. NBA playoffs. We are in the conference finals now, the third round of the playoffs, man. And things are starting to heat up. It's getting exciting.
Yes,
we're going to see who's going to be meeting up in the NBA finals here next. I'll probably, week and a half or so ish, maybe 2 weeks, depending on how long these respective series go. But, we're gonna be competing for the NBA championship real soon, and the season will be coming down. This was a fast NBA season, man. I feel like this season just shot by, man. Just like everything else. Before you know, it's gonna be NFL season. You know what I mean? But no, you know what I mean. So, but yeah. Before we get to the topics today, if this is your first time, please hit that sub button, like, comment, let us know what you think about the topic today, which is our predictions for the conference finals. We got the Timberwolves versus the OKC Thunder. Then we got the Indiana Pacers versus the New York Knicks. And man, I feel like both of these series they're gonna be good. I do feel like the Minnesota OKC series is gonna be a little more competitive. That's just my opinion, because I'll get to that in a little bit, though. I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. So let's start. You want to start out west or east?
We'll start out west.
Start west. All right. So we got the Minnesota Timberwolves and the OKC Thunder. That game is tonight, 5:30 Pacific time. We go Pacific time because that's where we live. We are in California, so it's gonna be really exciting, man. So the Thunder are favored to win the series, I believe, right?
Oh,
yes. Okay. I believe they're favored to win the series with the odds. I think tonight the spread is they're favored to win this game at home. The spread is 6.5. But I mean, you cannot count out the Minnesota Timberwolves if they steal a game. If they steal a game on the road, OKC's gonna be in trouble, and I feel like they're capable of doing it. You got Ant Edwards, you got Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year multiple time. You got Julius Randle is playing, and I've always felt like he was a good player, because the Knicks, for y'all that don't know, Knicks are like my team. You know what I mean? I do support the Kings too. It's kind of weird. I know some people don't understand it. I kind of have two teams. So what? Hey, sue me. Nobody made the rules. I make my own rules. But I've always been a Knicks fan since I was a kid. So I saw a lot of Julius Randle before he came to the Timberwolves, and so I know that he's a really good player. I think he surprised a lot of people in that last series. I'm not sure why, but he did. But they got Randle and Edwards, man, and I think that's a nice little 1-2. And other guys that can get buckets. You got DiVincenzo that can shoot the three ball. He can get hot. Conley, don't leave him up. I feel like every time he's open in that corner, he's gonna hit that open three. And Gobert. You got McDaniel. Gobert's not really a big scorer, but he's a big body. You know what I'm saying? So you got to account for all these guys. Give me, let's just kind of talk about it, man. What do you think's going to happen in this series, and why? Who do you got winning? And let's talk about why.
So for me, man, I kept going back and forth on who to kind of pick, because I know these are both, good teams that we're actually watching, smaller market teams. I know that we don't really see them a lot or too much on TV. Well, we see them a lot more on TV within like the last year or so. But yeah, for me, I really got the Wolves winning this one. I think this is going to go ahead and go 6. I think it's either going to go 6 or 7 games. I'll probably say, the only way I say it's 7 if somebody sneaks one on at a visiting side. If they go ahead and go visit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I would say 6 games for me, and I got the Wolves winning, because it just seems like right now Anthony Edwards has the fuel underneath him right now, and the iron is hot for him. Especially after you got done beating LeBron James in the first round. Then you turn around and come back and you beat, Steph Curry and Draymond Green in the next round. So with this, I feel like this is giving them a chance, especially him, to say, hey, look here, you know what? I want to go ahead and try to go ahead and prove the naysayers wrong, man, and take this leap now to actually be one of the leaders of the NBA going forward. I feel like.
Okay. Nah, yeah, man. I'm surprised you said that, because I got Minnesota winning this series too, man. I do. I like OKC, but I feel like the whole thing I've been saying about this team for the whole season, I just feel like I don't want to use the word overachieving, but I do feel like they are too Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dependent as far as his scoring.
Okay.
Now, I will say this though, but I will say this. I feel like Jalen Williams has been more consistent, especially the last series, with the scoring and things like that, because it was needed because they were playing a tough Denver team, and Denver wasn't even at full strength. You had Gordon with the hamstring, you had Michael Porter Jr. with the shoulder injury. They weren't even at full strength, and they took them 7. And they weren't really a deep team either. They were pretty much playing just 6 players. They were pretty much just playing 6 players or whatever, and still took them 7. So Minnesota is not the Denver Nuggets. I feel like they're deeper. I feel like they're healthier. And you got Anthony Edwards, man. Now, I feel like if you get top tier prime Anthony Edwards, it's not even a question. Minnesota's going to win the series. No. I remember hearing a quote by Anthony Edwards, because he people, in case you weren't aware, Minnesota was in the Western Conference Finals last year versus Dallas. And I remember him saying recently, before the playoffs started, he was saying, like, I didn't have any legs. When I got to the conference finals, I had no legs. And he was like, I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen again. And this is before, I want to say this might have been like last summer, he said, or something like that, like, my legs are just shot. And we kind of saw it. You know what I mean? But now I think he's ready physically. Again,
playing with a sense of urgency.
And if y'all don't remember too, Karl Anthony Towns didn't have a good series against Dallas Mavericks last conference finals. You got Julius Randle now, right? I'm not saying he's better than Cat, because Cat is on my team right now, but I'm not, but Julius Randle, he's been balling.
Yes.
Julius Randle has been balling. So
Chris Finch, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Chris Finch has gotten
he's unlocked. He's unlocked
out of Julius Randle. Yeah, he's learned how to use him in Minnesota now, and being able to tell him where to pick and choose his shots at, tell him to be a little bit more aggressive, going down to the low block. And that's why I said, for me, looking at, just the matchups, I mean, who's going to guard Julius Randle? I know you got 2 bigs in Hartenstein and Chet, and Chet's not big enough to body, with Julius Randle.
He's not. They were talking about that this morning on the first
take.
What
are you going to go ahead and do? Are you going to go ahead and start one of them? Or are you going to go ahead and play both of them to where somebody's going to be a liability on defense? Yeah. So you got to pick and choose how you're going to go ahead and run that from a matchup standpoint. And I feel like for them, they have a mismatch standpoint on that end, because
for Randle,
Julius Randle will create that mismatch either with Hartenstein, he's going to blow by him. Chet, I'm saying, going to take him down to the low block and just body him up, So with that being said, as long as they go ahead and run those 2 guys with their 1-2 punch, and then let everybody else go ahead and kind of pick and pop, let DiVincenzo shoot from the outside, let Mike Conley shoot from the outside, McDaniels, he's a defensive stopper for them, shoot from the outside. Sometimes if they decide to go ahead and clog that paint with the 2 Twin Towers, at least okay, hey, look, I got some shooters that are around me to where I don't have to force it down here against these bigs.
Right. So
now I feel like it's going to be crazy with that matchup.
Julius Randle, for this current playoffs, up to this point, he's averaging 23.9. So let's just round it up to 24 points. Averaging 24 points. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's averaging about 2 3-point shots a game. And he's averaging about 6 rebounds a game. He's playing well, and 6 assists. Julius Randle, he's going to be the X factor for the Timberwolves, I believe. Now we know the star, we know the guy is going to be Ant Edwards. He's going to kind of carry he's going to kind of lead his team offensively, I believe. But Julius Randle, I guarantee OKC is game planning right now for that guy, because like you said, that could be a matchup nightmare for Chet. I'm not sure if Chet. Now I believe I don't know if it was Marcus Morris or Gilbert Arenas this morning on First Take was suggesting that
it was Gil.
That was suggesting that Hartenstein should guard Randle and not Chet.
It was Gil.
But then, it was Gil then you might have a mismatch with Chet Holmgren on Gobert. And Gobert's not, don't get me wrong, he's not really a crazy offensive threat or anything like that. But I mean, just to body him down, just get him low in the paint. I mean, he gets close enough to that rim, you know, he can get a little jump hook or maybe a dunk or something like that, you know. So they might try to look for that. They might try to take advantage of Chet because of his lack of girth, you know what I'm saying, and size and strength like that. Because those are two strong dudes down there with Minnesota.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely did say that on first take that, you know, it was going to be a matchup problem with, you know, the front court. Who's going to go ahead and guard Julius Randle? You know, when Julius Randle does take them outside, you know, on that 3-point line, if he uses that first step to blow by you, what's going to happen? Or, you know, if he goes down to that low block, you happen to have Chet down there and he doesn't have the size. Well, he has the size, but he doesn't have the strength, should I say, to body him down the low block. It's going to create some issues. Now, the only thing I take away, and I said from this series, is that you and I were talking about it. I just said that with Anthony Edwards, he cannot, and I'm looking at these stats, even with the Golden State Warriors and Lakers, he cannot have these shooting slumps. I know he scored a couple good games. I know he scored a couple good points in these, but you can't go 8 from 15. You can't go 6 for 13. You can't go 9 for 22. You can't go 5 for 19. You know, you can't go 12 for 26. You can't go 8 for 22. So when it's inconsistent down these stretches, it's going to be a problem. Okay. So Anthony Edwards has to figure out how to get more efficient when it comes to shooting and getting down to the low block and or when he does his drives to actually finish. Okay. Because you can't. I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point, in this late in the season, in the playoffs, little mistakes like this, they matter.
No, I definitely hear you on that. So, but if we're looking at the last series, right, against Golden State, Anthony Edwards. So the last game, was it 6? Was that 6 games?
6.
Yeah. He made 5 3-point shots. So he shot 55% from the 3-point line. The game before that, he went 6 for 11, shot over 50%. The game before that, hit 5 for 14. Game before that, 2 for 4. So he's shooting pretty, you know, from a pretty high clip from the 3-point line.
He is.
For this, for the playoffs.
And let me ask you this: do you feel like he's relying on the 3-point shot a little too much instead of getting to the actual hoop and creating these fouls and ones?
I wouldn't say relying on. I think that's just the game plan. I think the game plan is to get those 3-point shots up. You know, and you see Conley kind of doing the same thing. McDaniels kind of doing the same thing. I think Julius Randle averages a couple 3-point shots a game. So, you know, I think that's the game plan. You know, and if we're looking at Randle, let me just kind of look at his stats the last series. I know we kind of went over what he's averaging throughout the whole entire playoffs, but the last series, 29 points, 31 points, 24, 24. Yeah. And in the loss to Golden State, he scored 18. So what that tells me is if you can get Randle to score 20 and up, you're going to give yourself a pretty good shot to win the game because, you know, if you can kind of get that same output from Anthony Edwards, he's going to get at least 20 points per game just because of his shot volume. Right. You know what I mean? So because of that, he's going to get about 20 points a game. And if Randle can match that, which I think he can in this series, OKC's going to have trouble. Now, let's just kind of go to the OKC side of things. I know we're talking a lot about Minnesota. I think we're talking a lot about Minnesota because OKC is favored to win. And I think I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people are thinking or just clear cut like OKC because I think they're like overwhelmingly like the favorite team to win this this matchup. But if you're OKC, what are some of the keys to this series that you think? I think early on, if I had to just kind of just throw something out there right now, I would say I feel like they have to get Julius Randle in foul trouble. Get him out the game. But then again, a guy we haven't mentioned, Naz Reid can come in for him. You know what I mean?
Yes, he can.
He can hit the 3 ball. He could take you off the dribble. A big man. You know what I mean? So we didn't even talk about him. But what are your thoughts? What are the keys to this entire series for OKC in your opinion?
Well, I say you made two great points. If you can go ahead and figure out how to get Julius Randle to some foul trouble, possibly Rudy Gobert, you'll have a chance. Then you can go ahead and use the 2 centers that you have, you know, Chet Holmgren and what's called to go ahead and create these mismatch problems on the offensive side of the ball. So that way you're not really relying too much on the scoring of SGA. You still want to go ahead and get his buckets, but you don't want to seem like you're forcing it to him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, from what I'm showing here is that, you know, the season series between these two have been 2-2. So they split the season series. And I think we talked about it just a minute ago before we started filming, is that only one game was a semi blowout. All the rest of these games were close. The one game was 116 to 101, but the other games were, a 2-point or 4-point, lead. So you got to figure out if you stay inside, if you stay in the game, keep your team relatively close to allow SGA to cook later on in the later fourth round, or in the fourth quarter, then you got a chance of actually beating them. So I think it's definitely going to have to be a team-oriented game when it comes from the offensive side of the ball. So they're going to go ahead and need Chet to score a little bit more. I know he hasn't really been too productive on the offensive side of the ball.
So Chet's averaging in his entire playoffs, he's averaging 15.7, so almost about 16 points a night.
They're going to need. Yeah, they're gonna need more from him.
Averaging in that matter. Averaging 9.7 rebounds, so he's productive.
Okay, it's not bad at
almost
all.
Almost a double for him this entire playoffs.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not bad. I mean, they just got to figure out how to go ahead and utilize him to create some of these issues. Because like I said, I feel like if you do go ahead and get Julius Randle into foul trouble, possibly Nasri, because we've seen it done before in the Lakers series, and get Rudy Gobert in some foul trouble, they're really not too top heavy when it comes to their front court. So once you at least get two of those guys in the foul trouble, they might have to go ahead and go small ball. Then that way you might be able to go ahead and take full advantage of it, from a taller standpoint if you're OKC.
Okay.
Because I think SGA, with him being the point guard that he is, he's going to find these mismatches for you.
And he's such a tall guard, lanky guard. He's going to be hard to guard. Honestly, we didn't talk about this. Who do you think is guarding him? I think Ant's going to guard him. I think Ant's going to guard.
Ant's going to have to guard him. Yeah. Mike Conley's not. No, Mike Conley cannot. He's not tall enough to go ahead and guard SGA.
And so Mike Conley probably going to, if we're looking at just a starting lineup, he's probably going to guard Dort, maybe. I don't know. Like
Dort, that probably Dort.
But that's going to be interesting.
Already might switch off from time to time.
Look, but
it's going to be very interesting.
Look for that early to see about that defensive assignment. See how they switch things like that. Because if they figure Ant is going to be guarding him initially, they might just try to get him in some pick and roll actions and things like that. But if you put Conley on him first, now it's probably just going to be like more 1-on-1, just get to the rack, and kind of take advantage of Conley. So I'm going to be interested to see how OKC does attack, Minnesota, in regards to how they come out the gates, with that. When you get to this point of the season, it's all like chess moves. It's a chess match. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
And this is where you really see like who the top tier coaches are, because who can make the adjustments on the fly, who can make the adjustments over the course of a series and things like that. So, I'm looking for that, to who's going to guard SGA. Who do you think is going to guard Ant for OKC? Like a Dort, Williams, or
it's probably have to be Dort or Williams. Dort or Williams. It's either going to be one of them.
I think Dort. Yeah, like I mean, because we know it's going to be a team effort, but like, who do you think is going to get the assignment? Right. Like, okay, that's your man.
Mainly, yeah. Mainly, I'll probably say Williams. Sorry about that.
Jalen Williams.
I say Williams. Okay. I think Jalen Williams will be the one that's going to actually go ahead and guard. The bulk of it will probably go ahead and go through him, as long as he doesn't get himself any foul trouble or anything like that, and then they'll go ahead and go from there after that to see, probably switching off here and there.
Let me ask you this. So with the Western Conference Finals, do you feel like these were or are the two best teams in the Western Conference? We pretty much know OKC has been all year.
Well, they were there. They were number one all year long.
When I think about it, I'm like, Minnesota? Yeah. Because who is actually better? Even though I think they were, where did they finish in the Western Conference? I forgot.
I think 6 or something like that. It was one. I think they were only, like I said, it was only 1 or 2 games. So I think they finished like, hold on, let me go look. I think it was 6 or 7.
Where did they finish? Playoff bracket. Minnesota finished.
6. So 6.
So 6, yeah. And the Western Conference was kind of like up and down. A lot of teams were like, 1 game, 2 games apart. So, a losing streak might have knocked you down to 6. But when I'm looking, okay, you got, Thunder, Rockets. And you had the Lakers, then you had the Nuggets, Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors, and the Grizzlies. So I would say Timberwolves are probably the second best team, in the Western Conference. I know people were higher on the Warriors than I was. I really didn't believe in them.
Yeah, they were.
Now, Rockets, they were number 2, but I felt like that was just, throughout the course of a season, it's easy to catch teams off guard by playing defense and playing hard defense. That's one thing they did. But when you get to the playoffs it is, things get a little tighter and you got to be able to find ways to score in tighter settings, tighter spacing. And in the half court, I feel like that's where they struggle. So I don't feel like they were actually the second best team. I do feel like these are the two best Western Conference teams by the matchup.
Well, I kept saying that, the Wolves were a team to look out for, as long as they could go ahead and stay healthy like most teams. But you just seen Ant play with a different type of energy this year.
Intensity,
Then you had Julius Randle that's actually buying into this team ball that Finch is kind of preaching to him. Because beforehand, let's just be real, man. Julius Randle, he's a great ball player, but he was very, very erratic.
He started off a little slow this season.
He did. He definitely did. But he found his groove though. He eventually found his groove. And it actually started to mesh well towards the middle end of the season to where they started to make their run.
Like the chemistry was a little off early on.
The chemistry. And I tell you all the time, when teams make a late run and the chemistry starts to get, better as the season goes on, those are teams you actually want to look out for and be like, all right, hey, look here. Their sleeper team really, there's not too many people who are talking about them. From this standpoint, we need to go ahead and watch out.
Yeah, no, for sure. How many games? You got Timberwolves winning the series, right?
I'd say this is going 7. Timberwolves.
7. Yeah. I'm gonna say T-Wolves in 6.
Okay.
I'm gonna say T-Wolves in 6, man.
So it's best for them to go ahead and close it out in Minnesota and not play with their food. Then I take it.
Don't play with your food.
And I think it's again.
Don't play with your food.
And don't take it to a game 7 in OKC.
I feel like roster for roster, Minnesota is a better team.
Yes, they are.
I feel like that.
They are.
Now, record for record, of course not. But OKC just got the number 1. But if we're going roster for roster, you got again Ant Edwards, Gobert, Randle, DiVincenzo, McDaniels, Reed, Mike Conley, Alexander Walker. You know what I mean? So I just feel like right now they have a good solid 8 players that can come in and, it's really not going to be too much of a drop off defensively or offensively. But Ant Edwards right now is averaging 40 minutes in the playoffs. Randall's averaging about 38 minutes. McDaniels averaging 36. Nas Reed. So
they're top heavy as far as minutes.
They're playing minutes. So if they could stay out of foul trouble, if you could keep Randle. Again, going back to what I said a little bit ago, I feel like for OKC, you kind of want to attack Randle, get him in foul trouble. And get him out the game. But again, you still have Nas Reed who can ball too. So it's kind of like pick your poison, because now if you have Nas Reed in, he's more of a he's a shooter. He can shoot, and he can put that ball on the floor. I mean, the way he almost plays like a guard. I don't know. He might have had like a. He does. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when they said Anthony Davis, he was a point guard, and all of a sudden he just shot up in height.
Right.
I wonder if Nas Reed had that same thing, because he plays like a guard to me. Like sometimes
he does.
So that's gonna be a tough
bring
man.
The ball up and be like, hey, look, you know what? I'm about to go ahead and be point forward, man. Take it all the way down. You know what I mean? To give me a bucket, on the other end. So
for sure.
I agree. For sure.
For sure. So so we both got Minnesota. I'm surprised, man. I don't know why I'm surprised you got Minnesota. I thought you was gonna pick OKC.
Nah, man. I like I told you, I like the way they're built.
Okay.
I like the veterans. They got the veterans around them. Like you said, you got the what Rudy Gobert's a four-time defensive player of the year.
I know at least 2. Maybe 3. He's got a few. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got him. You got the veteran in Mike Conley. You got a veteran in Julius Randle to help out some of these young bulls. You got shooting in DiVincenzo and McDaniels and Edwards. So it seems like they got a well balanced team. I feel like OKC, they're just a little bit. They're younger right now, and I don't think they have that veteran presence on their team that's going to be able to. Yeah, that's not going to be able to pull them up to be like, hey, look, you know what? This is how you guys do this, young bull. Yeah. Let's go ahead and try to do X, Y, and Z, So it's going to be interesting to see how this matchup is going to go ahead and go. I do feel like it's going to be evenly matched. I do feel like this is going to be a great series. Something that you probably do not want to get away from your couch and get up and I'll be back.
No, you're going to watch this. You're going to watch it. What? I do hope that, okay, you just said something too. I do hope that, because I feel like each series we've seen like these crazy blowouts, and it's like, I don't know if these other teams get like discouraged. I'm like, we'll come back next game. No, like stop these blowouts. But I do, and we talked about this before. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I feel like refs sometimes kind of like perpetuate and kind of like help some of those teams like build those big, and it's like refs, we didn't come to see you. Let the players play.
No.
Don't throw like a big flagrant foul, call like a big flagrant foul in a crazy moment that could be a common foul. Don't pick and choose who you're going to call the fouls for. Like, let them play. Let the teams figure out who the better teams are and play. I don't like when refs like put their hands in the pot too much. I hate that because whether people want to admit it or not, that has affected a lot of these blowout games that we've seen. It does. What I'm saying? So just lay back and do your job. I'm not saying that, but
my last point to piggyback off of what you're just saying right now is that when you look at this, right, and I'm looking at these numbers right now, as far as from a playoff standpoint, they have Minnesota ranking from a defensive rating at 106.8.
Okay.
They have OKC ranking at 101.6. So they're right there neck and neck when it comes to defense.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to go ahead and play out because it seems like they both play hard defensively. These refs can't dictate control that.
Nah, please don't do that.
When you got two great defensive teams playing against each other, don't add the extra stuff that don't necessarily need to be added. Do not.
Don't do that. Let's go out east, man, real quick. I know we kind of dive deep into that series, but let's go out east. We got the Pacers and the Knicks. Now, needless to say, I have the New York Knicks winning this series, but here's the thing, right? And I've been saying this. I think I kind of talked about it on the last session that we did on here. I feel like people are being prisoners of the moment with the Indiana Pacers.
Yes.
I'm not knocking them. Good team, because you don't get this far by being a trash team or a bad team.
Right.
But I feel like they've caught some breaks. First, the first round, you had the blood clot with Dame Lillard.
Yeah,
then he came back.
Yeah.
He tried to come back and help his team. Popped his Achilles. And then once you get past Dame and Giannis, I mean, you have Bobby Portis or whatever, but like after that, it's kind of. And that's one of the reasons why they're getting ready to trade Giannis, I believe, because that team is kind of strapped for cash and they don't really have a lot of flexibility in what they're who they could bring in, But you needed Dame that series. Would that have been a different series? Yes. A fully healthy Dame? I think it would have. Not sure the Pacers would have beat them. Now you go to the next round, Cleveland. Cleveland, I think, was playing with their food those first couple of games. I feel like Cleveland's roster and their players are better than the Indiana Pacers and their players. Talent for talent, bar for bar. We're talking about, position for position. Cleveland Cavaliers are a better team than the Indiana Pacers. And they also had injuries. Garland had Garland had the big toe injury. So it's hard to run on that. Mobley, I forgot, was it shoulder? I forgot what Mobley had going on. But Mobley, I think he was out of game. So you had between Cleveland just kind of playing.
Donovan Mitchell that was hurt too as well.
Yeah, between Cleveland kind of playing with their food, between the injuries, and then that last second shot that Haliburton, that was kind of like was kind of deflating. Again, credit, you play who's in front of you. If you're the Pacers, you do your job. But I don't feel like they were better than the Cavs. So now you're in the Eastern Conference Finals playing a fully healthy New York Knicks. Knock on wood that nobody gets hurt in this series, because I would hate to see that, but we've seen it happen. It's been kind of the consistent thing. We saw Tatum get hurt last round.
Definitely.
We like we said we seen Lillard get hurt. The Cavs situation. Anybody get hurt? Like Steph Curry, Warriors.
Curry got hurt. Yeah.
I think Luka was like sick or something. Like, so we've had different things.
Luka hurt. His back. Jimmy Butler's back.
Jimmy Butler in the Rocket series, even though they won that series, maybe that was kind of lingering for the following series. You know what I mean? So, it kind of happens. Definitely. So again, knock on wood. I hope nobody gets hurt for the Knicks this series. I'm not saying I want anybody to hurt for the Pacers either, but I mean, I don't think, if the Knicks could stay healthy, I feel like they're a much better team. Let's kind of go through these stats. Jalen Brunson is averaging 28 points, 28.8 in his playoffs. Karl Towns averaging 19.8 and Anunoby 15.8. Mikal Bridges 15.4. Josh Hart 13.2. So you got, about 6 guys, pretty much, or 5 guys averaging double figures. Now the thing about here's the thing about the Knicks. They're not really going into their bench. Typical, Tibbs, you know what I'm saying? Rotation. Because when you look at the bench, it's like McBride, Mitchell Robinson, Precious Achua, those are like the first three off the bench, and nobody else is really playing after that. Cameron Payne's not playing. Shaman's not playing. What's the name? DeLorean Wright, I think it's like something Wright.
I'm curious to know the reason why Cameron Payne is not playing. I thought when you got him in that trade, it was to allow him to get more playing time. And it seems like he has.
And I'm not mad at CP because sometimes he can come in and get hot from three. I've seen him do that, but so the Knicks, they're kind of top heavy, you know what I'm saying? But again, if they could stay healthy, I got them winning this series in 5. I don't think it's gonna be that good. Yes. I hate this. I don't want to say the word respect. Wow. I don't want to say the word respect, but again, I think people are being.
You don't respect them. You don't respect them.
No.
I get you don't respect. You don't.
Well, okay, let me expand on that real quick.
Go ahead.
I feel like, again, just kind of go back to what I just said. I feel like they've had some favorable things going their way the last 2 series. Right. Again, you play who's in front of you, not knocking them for that, but I just don't feel that they're a top 4 team in the NBA. And that's why I asked you, and I asked you that question for a reason. I'm like, do you feel like the two best teams in the West are playing right now? Remember I asked you that a minute ago? Because that's why I wanted to ask you about this. I'm like, I don't feel like the 2 best teams in the East are playing.
No, they're not. Not at all.
Really, really, the 2 best teams to me just played last series. The Celtics and the Knicks. Those are the 2 best teams. So they had to play each other in the second round. It's just kind of the way the seeding went. But I just don't feel that the Pacers are a top 4 team in the NBA.
Yeah, because when you look at you gotta look at what the Sixers did and what they went through with Paul George getting hurt,
Embiid hurt.
They might have been in the play.
Maxey got hurt.
Maxey got hurt, so I think that with Philly not being there and them not playing,
I think the Heat would have been. I think if that whole Jimmy Butler fiasco didn't happen, I think the Heat would have been in the mix in the East. You know what I mean? They
would have,
we talked about Dame Lillard. We talked about the Cavs. I really feel like the Cavs and the Knicks. I don't want to say should have been, but I feel like to me those are the 2 best teams that were left. In the playoffs.
The playoffs started. Okay.
So I feel like, again, kind of like, I don't want to say they don't belong there.
That 5-1 though? Come on, man. That 5-1, you
the 5 games? 5 games, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the Knicks are that much better than this team. I do.
Wow, bro. Have you been seeing the way Haliburton's been playing?
Well, if you really want to talk about that, Haliburton hasn't really been consistent in this playoffs at all either.
No, he has not.
Haliburton, it's like, no, okay, so if anybody bets, if anybody does like daily fantasy, if anybody does parlays, y'all know, like, it's like a running joke. I've seen so many memes about like, it'd be like Tyrese Haliburton when I pick him, and it's just like it's some bum, you know what I'm saying? Some bum dude on the court, whatever, because like he's just not consistent. So I almost might pick him tonight on my parlay, just, you know what I'm saying, just to give him that bad juju.
But hey, when you look at it though. Damn, you called from that one, man. I'm gonna tell him go ahead and block your account, man, so that way you can't make that bet on the bro. People be trying to put some bad voodoo on you, man. You know what I mean?
But now,
I mean, for me on this, it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be a tough, hard series. I feel like this is probably gonna go 6 games.
That's fair.
When you look at the front court, I feel like the front court is just as evenly matched with New York when you have Siakam and Miles Turner, bro. Come on, man. You don't think Siakam and Miles Turner can go ahead and create some issues for that front court?
Good NBA players. Good NBA players.
I mean, hey, look, because once you put Cat to the bench, who's gonna go ahead and come in?
Mitchell Robinson.
He
played. Defender, rebounder.
Defender, yeah, good defender for sure. So I mean, if you go ahead and get good productivity out of Pascal, because Pascal's been averaging 20.9, I think, during the playoffs, and you really don't rely too much on Haliburton unless you really need him.
Well, Pascal 18.8 for the playoffs.
Oh, 18.8 okay, for the playoffs. Okay. So and then what? Haliburton's averaging
17.5.
And then what's he averaging assist wise?
9.3.
I'm talking about the assist as well.
9.3.
9.3. So I just seen that too as well. So as long as you have a great facilitator like him and what he's doing right now, it takes off some of the load on him to actually have to be that scorer when you got these other guys, being productive for you. Now, like I said, yes, is Haliburton inconsistent? For sure. But the thing about him, it's just like playing craps. You just don't never know when you're going to hit with that boy. And when he does hit, especially on games that matter, then it takes them to the next level. And I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like they're riding on a high, and they feel like they got something to prove because they felt like, hey, look, you know what? People probably look at us, we shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. They're looking at us like, hey, we should have been knocked out.
Well, not everybody. Some people buy it. I don't buy it, but some people, some people are buying it.
Some people do. Some people do.
Some people are buying it.
So, I mean, for me, I think, like I say, you know, it depends on what the front court does on both these teams. That front court is going to really matter in dictating control the series, I feel like, because you're going to get great guard play out of, you know, Haliburton and out of Brunson.
Okay.
You know, so and then if you got Josh Hart, you know, that's going to go ahead and play like he's been playing and things of that nature, pop up, shoot, play some defense. It can create some issues. I feel like it's going to really rely on that front court.
I slightly disagree with that take. I think it's going to rely for the Pacers. I feel like it's going to be a lot of Nembhard and Naismith.
Yes,
they're going to need those two guys to play well.
Yes,
and I feel like when you're playing against Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Anunoby, it's going to be hard for those two guys to go off on them. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like they're going to have the series that they've had, you know, against the Cavs and against the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? Each of those teams. I don't think they're not going to play as well as they've had against the Knicks in this series. And I feel like you're going to need them to do that in order to win this series. You know, they've been looking decent because, again, when you look at the Bucks, who's really out there guarding them for the Bucks right now? Who was out there to guard them? You know what I mean? So we can't even we can't even think of a name. You know what I'm saying? And then when you go to the no, hold that thought though, because I want you to say what you got to say. Yeah. And then when you go for the Cavs, you know, you had Garland, who, you know, didn't play a game, and then when he's out there, it's harder. Right. Again, I've hurt my big toe. I couldn't even walk, so I can't even imagine trying to play an NBA game and guard somebody, and get somebody in front of you and stay in front of them with a hurt big toe.
Right.
So you had that. Nembhard and Naismith, I feel like those are the two that they need, and I don't feel like they're going to have the success that they had in the last two series. So what was your point?
I say it's a great point that you just made when you said that, you know, and looking here, another stat line that I'll throw out there is that right now in overall defense, Indiana is ranked number 1. So it goes back to what you were saying. Mm-hmm. Who do they really play against? For them to be the number 1 defensive team right now in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You know, you have the Knicks at number 2, you know, or 3, sorry about that, overall in defensive rating 2 as well. So, I mean, like you said, who have they played? Who's guarded them, you know, to create
this is going to be their toughest challenge up to this point.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like this, and I love this rivalry. I love it because it brings back our era of the 90s.
Reggie Miller.
Bring that type of yes, Ewing, man, with the
John Starks
and yes, and Patrick
Antonio
Ewing,
Davis.
Yes,
the Davis brothers,
and Mark Jackson, you know, and Reggie and Rick
Smits.
And Smits. You know, when you got players like that, you know, to create that rivalry that they once had in the 90s, man, in the early 2000s, that was a time to go ahead and just really sit down and hone in. Like, oh man, let me watch this game because we don't know what's going to happen in this series. We don't know what's going to go ahead and take place. You know, and I know it still breaks your heart with Reggie Miller scoring them 8 points in 13 seconds. Got to bring that up to you, brother. So you better hope that
you know what's crazy?
Have that same issue.
I was watching that game live. I was watching that game live in my bedroom, and I was like, "Ain't no way." No way. And he did. So I was like, I was sick.
You better hope that Haliburton does not recreate a Reggie Miller.
Nah, no way. Nope.
It's been shown. He's proven that he can go ahead and get some buckets really quick in really, really pivotal moments of the game. So
you know what I'm hoping with the Knicks, though, and like the one thing sometimes I see, and you know, we always talk about this, not just with the Knicks, but just with teams in general. Don't play to your competition. Play up to your standard. Yeah. Play to your full capability and abilities. Because if you do that, I don't think it's any question that the Knicks are better. Like, just play at a high level. Don't play with your food. And if you get down, don't be like, let it be. I just feel like some of these teams in the playoffs that I've seen, like, it's a blowout. We'll play. All right, we got another game. No. Play each game like it's your last. Play each game like it's your last game. Don't play with your food. Now, the series is starting in New York. So you feel like the Pacers are going to steal one? Did you see those fans in Madison Square Garden?
Man, they was going crazy.
Do you feel?
They were going crazy.
So do you feel like? All right. So do you feel? Because you know,
shout out to Haliburton for going ahead and getting that man them tickets too as well, because that he didn't deserve that at all. That fan.
So you know that the Knicks and MSG, they're gonna have that same energy. Probably it's gonna be probably another level. Be honest. Do you really think the Pacers can steal the game in that environment?
Yeah, I feel like they can.
Okay.
I feel like they can.
All right.
I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be the first
to do that. You're gonna have to blow them out. You're gonna have to. If it's a close game, you're not winning those. If they play 2 close games in MSG, you're not winning those. You're not winning either one of those. The Pacers are not winning a close game in MSG in game 1 or game 2.
Okay.
You have to blow the Knicks out.
Okay, so you feel like that New York's going to go ahead and win 2 at home,
and it's going to be 2-0.
And they're going to go ahead and steal 1.
And now, and then the Pacers are going to have to win 4 out of the next 5.
5, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, for me, man, I know I'm talking a lot about Indiana and them being somewhat of a sleeper good team right now, especially in these playoffs. And like I said, no disrespect towards them,
No.
Away from, I'm saying.
See, people gotta realize that reality and context is not disrespect. Like, you do have to look at that Buck series and look at, okay, they did not have Dame. Right. You do have to look at that Cavs series and be like, okay, they had 2 of their main players who were out, at least 2 games. Plus, when they came back, they weren't fully healthy. Again, a big toe. How do you play defense on that? How do you run? How do you get your explosion? How do you get your first step? It's hard to do that. You know what I mean? So yeah, you do have to look at that. And the Pacers are fully healthy. They have all their guys. You know what I'm saying? So right at that point, it's kind of like a an attrition thing, like, again, but see, the 2 teams that are playing right now, they got all their guys. Knicks got their guys. Pacers got their guys. Yeah. So they're coming up against a team who is fully healthy, who has all their guys. Please, again, knock on wood, nobody gets hurt, and then we're going to see who the better team is. If you beat the Knicks,
hey, I'm gonna go ahead and go 6 games, man, and I'm gonna say the Knicks are gonna go ahead and get it.
Okay, that's fair.
Go 6 games Knicks.
Okay.
I'm
gonna stick with the 5 because I don't feel like the Pacers can win in MSG with that energy. It's gonna be hard with them to playing against that crowd. That felt like, you ever watch those, like, do you ever watch those European, like, I don't watch it often, but like those European football games, bro?
Yeah, sure.
It felt like that to me.
Them stadiums be rocking for sure.
It felt like that in MSG.
Well, you gotta understand, man. Madison Square Garden is a tough place to go ahead and play. Mm-hmm. They do have their fan base who is really, really heavily rooted into what they got going on. And they were doing this even when they did have down moments, of them not really being good. So does home court advantage play a factor into it? For sure. Does the intensity level from the fans up it for the players? For sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, if Indiana does stand a chance to actually push this to a 6 or 7 game series, they're going to have to figure out a way to at least get 1 or 2 games in New York.
They're going to have to. Honestly, you got to figure that out. Yeah.
If you don't, then yeah, you can go ahead and start packing it up, get ready to go ahead and take your vacation, wherever you got to go ahead and go and go from there. But it's going to be interesting. And like I said, don't be surprised if New York falls to 1 in New York, because we said it before, they play down the competition.
I'll be surprised.
They play down the competition. So I'll be surprised.
All right. So before we get up out of here, I just kind of want to talk about just these last 4 teams. We're getting a brand new NBA champion this year.
We are.
We're Haliburton, Brunson, Anthony Edwards, or Shai Gilgeous is going to get their first NBA championship. That's exciting, man, because this is kind of like the changing of the guard from these young guys. Because these are the young guys we've been looking at, and now we're finally here to where somebody's going to get that first ring. Yeah. So this is kind of this is a big year for the NBA. I don't know if people really are thinking about it like that. Like, this is a really big year because you had Curry get knocked out, you had Bron get knocked out, you had Jokic get knocked out, you had Giannis get knocked out. You had Jimmy Butler get knocked out. All these old guys are getting knocked out. KD didn't even make the playoffs. Embiid didn't even make the, you know what I'm saying? So, like, these are 4 young juggernaut, players. So what I wanted to say was, out of these 4 players, whose legacy do you feel like it would benefit most to get an NBA championship? That's the last question I want to ask before we get up out of here. Anthony Edwards, Shea Gildress. Hold on. Anthony Edwards, Shea Gildress, Jalen Brunson, or Tyrese Haliburton. Whose legacy has the most to gain?
I mean, they're all damn. That's a good question. I'm torn between Brunson and Edwards.
Me too.
Yep. And the reason why I say the Brunson situation is because he left a team that actually went to the finals, or was it the year before they went to the Western Conference Finals? Right?
They didn't want to pay him because Dallas didn't want to pay him. He wanted to stay in Dallas.
Right, he wanted to stay. Right, so he left, went over there to New York. This is before the Cat trade had happened, and cemented himself over there as being a up and coming superstar to watch out for. Anthony Edwards, we've been known about him, but the thing about him and that I like the most that I've been seeing of lately is he's been taking the step up. He's been elevating his game. It seems like every playoff series he's been playing. And I'm gonna be honest with you, if I was a betting man, I'm gonna go out and go stick with my word. I'm gonna have to go ahead and say Edwards, man. If Edwards gets this, you're gonna have to start looking at him and be like, hey, look, man, how can we go ahead and get him to be the face of the NBA?
All right, so I agree with that last point. That last point was why I have Ant and Brunson, but like I kind of had to go back and forth in my mind. Okay, Ant, Brunson.
I was going to say
Brunson, Ant, because when Ant, again, your last point was going to be my main point for him. We're already looking at him like, can he be the face of the NBA? Yes. Is he the next face of the NBA? Because they're looking for that. I know a lot of people are saying Wemby, but Wemby's not here yet. Maybe he'll get here, in a year or 2 or 3. Maybe he'll kind of be in the next group of guys to kind of make a run, because we've seen Shea this year. This is Edwards' second run because he was in the Western Conference Finals last. So it don't sound like he's going nowhere. Hopefully he stays healthy for the next 10 years. And, but he's going to be hard to beat. But Jalen Brunson, if you win a championship for the New York Knickerbockers, I don't think it gets no bigger than that. I don't, because I feel like his legacy would be, he would benefit most from winning a championship out of those 4 players. Okay. The Knicks, because they've been dying for a championship. When was the last championship? Was some 1950 something? Like, what's the last time?
It's been a long one for sure.
The 1973. Yes. 1973. If he is able to bring the New York Knicks a championship, I think that's bigger than anything these other 4 guys can do at this point of their careers. I do. Then I would say Ant second, because again, the face of the league thing, the face of the NBA.
Well, that's why I said.
Then I would say Haliburton, because kind of like the little engine that could, nobody believed we can get here, type thing.
They still got the joke about him, or they still got the thing about him as being overrated, right? Player.
So that's why I would say third for him. And Shea, I would say fourth. Right. And I got if I had to pick an order, and people were like, man, Shea fourth. But I would say Shea fourth because I feel like OKC's gonna. I feel like OKC's gonna be here for a while. I feel like they're going to continue to tool that roster. They're going to continue to compete next year. Like, they're all young. That's the thing about them, bro. Yeah. The vets, like, Hartenstein, 6 years, 7, they're young. Yeah. So, they're not going nowhere. You keep adding to that, So, I feel like he's going to kind of be there. I feel like they'll have another run next season. But, man, Brunson winning a championship in New York, he's getting. If he does that, he's getting a statue.
Oh yeah, king of the city. They're gonna give him the key to the city.
So,
real talk.
That's a real fun, real
interesting,
real fun conversation. We want to get up out of here, but we're excited to watch these 2 conference series. Again, we both have the Knicks and we both have the Timberwolves winning, going to the NBA Finals. But we kind of disagree on the amount of games. Well, who did you say? I said Timberwolves in 6. I think you said Timberwolves in 7.
Yeah.
And I said the Knicks in 5. You said Knicks in 6.
Knicks in 6.
So we're going to see. And then, we'll kind of talk about, maybe we'll kind of hit y'all with another video like in the middle of both of these series. Maybe after the first 2 games. Kind of want to hit y'all after each game. But maybe after the first 2 games of each of these series, we'll come back. We'll kind of talk about, where the series, each of those series are, and where we think they're going from there, And then we're going to get back at y'all, man. All Net No Rim, Doughboy Bush, Stella the producer. like, comment, subscribe. Please comment what you guys think. We'd love to know what you guys think about these two series. And we're going to get back at y'all, man. Peace.